What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Turn on the Jets Live. I'm your host, Steven Zantz, joined by my co-host, Steven Russo. No guest this week. It's been tough, but Steven, let's just get into it. What were your thoughts on Sunday watching that abysmal performance we saw in Denver?
Yeah, it was tough. It was. It felt like Adam Gase never really left the sidelines, which is really difficult to see. I know we're 3 games in. I know it's a new regime, new quarterback, new play caller, new coach, all that, but it was tough. And we gave this team a really low bar to clear. And thus far through 3 games, they haven't cleared it. All we wanted to do is see competitive football. I think every reasonable Jets fan out there would say, just show us progress, show us competitive losses. Let's score some points, even if it isn't a loss, score some touchdowns, give us something to cheer for. And honestly, that hasn't happened yet. I mean, Steven, you and I were talking before the show. It's really 2 out of 12 competitive quarters so far, which just isn't, that's not what the fans want to see. I get it. And we may look back on this and they may show improvement, and I hope they do. And we may look back and say that these were 3 of the top defenses, if not the best 3 defenses they've played. But still, it's kind of hard to stay positive and see the light at the end of the tunnel after watching these first 3 games and especially Sunday's game.
Yeah, I mean, look. It's been horrible. The last 2 games, absolutely terrible. Nothing really that positive you could take away from it because no offensive touchdowns, 6 points in week 2, 0 last week. It's bad. And, at the end of the day, you got to realize still a young team, still young staff, first-time offensive coordinator, first-time head coach, rookie quarterback, bad offensive line, and the offensive line looked like week 1 again. And Zach wasn't good. I mean, I don't think he was the problem against the Broncos. I think he obviously, had some bad throws. He had some misses, but he got no help from his receivers. How many drop balls? Corey Davis just dropped the ball just right now. They said they recorded, I think, 4 drop balls, but obviously it's subjective and guess to the people who are recording the stat. It must have been closer to 8. I mean, I watched the first half because I was at a tailgate at MetLife Stadium, the Giants game. And no, I did not go to the Giants game, but my friend had a thing and I just wanted to go and we had TVs and we were watching. I didn't watch the second half until the game was over fully again, until I was home, still a little hungover at that point. But so many plays were there. And Connor put this in his film breakdown today on the All-22 on Badlands. It's if a couple things go right, the game probably looks a little bit different. I mean, Michael Carter got to catch that ball. It's probably a touchdown. Corey Davis definitely got to catch the ball. Same drive, like you mentioned before the show. It's probably a different game. I mean, the defense is playing hard. The Broncos scored 2 touchdowns, and there was one play when they were obviously at the 5 and the Jets got the ball back. I mean, there's things that are happening. The corners have been good. I mean, last week, the best player they're playing against was Courtland Sutton. I get it. Tim Patrick is an average NFL receiver at best, and KJ Hamler went down with an injury. Noah Fant didn't do anything, and he's probably their best weapon right now. I mean, Courtland Sutton's good, but Noah Fant is really good. He was really solid last year. You just got to take it for what it is. So listen, this week, they're playing a softer defense. Tennessee gives up points. Tennessee's also missing players. Things are going to happen. We'll get into our game preview. But everyone needs to calm down. 3 games. 3 games. They're going to score touchdowns. They're going to look better. They're not they're one of the worst teams in football. I get it. I understand. But the Jaguars score points. The Lions score points. The Giants score points. We're not going to score 0 every week. Come on. They're an NFL team. I can't listen to the nonsense. Yes, it's bad. Yes, there's blame around. LaFleur has been very questionable. I mean, that one play, we had 3 guys who were running the same route, and then Zach gets sacked immediately. What is that? I don't even know what to say.
I know. And I'm in between you and probably the people that you're arguing with on Twitter, because I always say I'm not hitting the panic button just yet. I'm always a pump the brakes kind of guy. I think I say that more often than not on the show. But honestly, man, like I said at the beginning, I'm tired of it. And I get it. I get where they're coming from. We're really not asking for much. I don't think this is the sky is falling type of thing. I think there's 14 games left to play. Sure. It was a tough game on the road, 4:00. It's a good team. I get it. But this is I would hope, if you had asked me at the beginning of the season if they'd be 0-3, I probably would have said no, but I can understand. But being 0-3 and looking like this is where I see what some of those people are, where I see where they're coming from. I didn't think it would look like this. I really didn't. I thought that there would be much more out of the offense. I didn't think the line would be struggling like it is. I'm not saying they're going to be world beaters and be the 99 Rams, but at the same time, I really didn't think that it would be Gase level bad. And right now they're Gase level bad. They're worse than Gase.
They are.
Because through 3 games here, Gay scored 37 points last year. This Jets team has scored 20. So, there is reason that they feel this way, and it's justified reason. And I'm kind of, I'm getting near to that boat, to being in that boat with them. But it's difficult. And yeah, I mean, we have our complaints about Mike LaFleur. I think this game was a little bit better from him. There's still a few questionable things. I think, they showed life at the end of the Carolina game. Obviously, Zach Wilson, played his ass off in the second half. They came back. They made it a game. Game 2 against New England was all on Zach Wilson. I think, even looking back at that, you saw a lot of positives coming out of everything but the quarterback. And this game was the polar opposite of that, where Zach was the least of their problems this week. The defense played their asses off yet again. And it just seemed like nothing else clicked. The line couldn't protect, even on that play that you brought up, where they had 3 guys on 3rd and 6 run short of the sticks, right? And Zach had nowhere to go with the ball. But even that, they had 6 guys blocking 5 and still 2 got through. So this continues to be a problem. And I get the frustration. And even you want to point the finger at LaFleur again, the 3rd and 4th down sequence to start the 4th quarter, where he runs on 3rd and 4 on a shotgun draw to Michael Carter and then throws a slant to Ty Johnson. Like Ty Johnson, of all people, that's what we're going to go with on 4th and 2, where the game, I mean, listen, there's 15 minutes to go. They're down 20-0, but that's not out of reach. Crazier things have happened, but that's the call you're going to make on 4th and 2 is a slant to Ty Johnson, who hasn't caught a ball, didn't catch a ball all game, really, I don't think, or maybe caught one early on. So, there's problems like that. I think the overarching theme here is that the Jets we all know this, they're simply just not good enough to deal with to overcome some of the mistakes and the mishaps and the shooting themselves in the foot that they're doing. Penalties, stupid penalties. I could go all day about that. Justin Hardy getting a taunting penalty down 17-0 on a punt. Like, give me a break. Delay a game on a field goal attempt, like stuff like that. These illegal man downfield, like they're not good enough to overcome that. They need things to go almost perfectly to sustain drives and to get scoring drives. I understand that, but that's got to be better than this, man. Yeah. This is bad.
It's fixable. A lot of the issues are fixable. It's like catch the ball, better call play calls because, situationally, and Saleh is presser. He was like, it's situational football. It's like some of the things they can fix. It's not like, they're not the most talented team in the world. We get that. I understand. But like the talent is better than what they're showing. And I think people need to realize it's a process. I know everyone hates that word because it just sounds like it's like patience. I get it. I understand why Jet fans are out of patience. I'm out of patience too. I mean, listen, 2015 feels like such a long time ago. And even that ended so poorly, as we all know. We don't like to bring it back up. But it's like, everyone just like, let the season play out. Let's see what everything that happens. The game plans are going to get better. LaFleur's going to adjust. He's not going to keep doing the same thing every week. Like, I'm sure there'll be more scripted plays. They're going to try to make Zach's life a little bit easier, protect him. It's just like, it was rough. I agree with you. I mean, like crazier things have happened. Like they can come back from a deficit. Like we see it all the time in the league. Like remember that game, Giants-Eagles 2010, they were down 17 with 8 minutes to go in the game, the Eagles, and they ended up winning the game. Things happen. It's going to get better. It can't get worse. We're at rock bottom. Last year was rock bottom. Let's calm down. But one thing that they need to stop, and this drives me crazy, and I think I got this from my dad, because my dad would literally always yell about this when we were watching the Jets growing up. When you make a nice play and you're getting your ass kicked, do not celebrate like you're winning the Super Bowl. Like stop. Like and realize you were getting your ass kicked. I get it. You're in the NFL. You want to make a play. You get a sack. Whatever. You get a nice like tackle for a loss. Get back in the damn huddle. Like stop celebrating. Like it's ridiculous. Like you're like literally embarrassing yourself. And I know the beat was kind of giving them a lot of crap on Twitter when that happened. But just like, be a man. Like just stop with that. Act like you've been there before. You're not in any position to be celebrating. If you get a pick six and you score a touchdown, sure, you can celebrate. But we haven't seen that yet. So let's go.
No, I agree with you. I mean, 2 things for me come to mind. I mentioned it before, the Justin Hardy thing. And I know you love Justin Hardy, and I honestly do too. He's looked great on special teams. I think
one bad blunder.
He's an all-effort guy, and I really love that. But come on, man, taunting in that spot, and then to follow that up, then Marcus Maye comes back and has a face mask on a 10 or 12-yard run. So immediately that just flips the field by 40, 45 yards. Like, give me a break. Don't do that stuff. The other thing I think is Quincy Williams is that on that they're down 23-0 late in the 4th, and he causes a fumble, which was a great play. Right. But he gets up and he's flexing towards the sideline. Meanwhile, the guy that recovered is running down the sideline and he's failing to make a block for him. Like, I agree. Don't do that. Don't celebrate you're down 23-0. Yeah, it was a nice play, but look at the scoreboard. It's the fourth quarter. Like, stop doing that shit. So I totally agree with you, man. The other thing that I got to vent about a little bit is I've said two things actually. So I've said that I unequivocally, I love Saleh. I still do. I will until he, proves me wrong. Stop talking about how good a week of practice was. Like, learn that's just
101. I don't
just stop it. You got to learn that this is the fan base doesn't want to hear that anymore, man. We heard that for 2 straight years and it never produced on the field. I don't care how good of a week of practice was. I want to see what happens on Sundays. Don't talk to me about that on the whole team, on Mims, anything like that. Second, Greg Van Roten and Connor McGovern, shut the hell up. Just sometimes it means a lot more when you say less. Don't talk about it. Like, that's enough. I don't want to hear it. Your rookie quarterback's not throwing you under the bus for failing to make any blocks this season and having pass protection that's probably the worst in the league. Don't talk about how long he holds the ball. Say that, listen, we got to take responsibility.
Yeah. Nobody's open. That's why he's holding the ball.
Exactly. Because the kid's running for his life trying to make a play on 3rd and 13. Like, and guys are busting through left and right, and you guys can't seem to block anybody. So this would be wrong for the best guard in the game to say about his rookie quarterback, let alone Greg Van Roten, who is not the best guard in the game. So those are my two things. I still love Saleh. I do. Yeah. But stop telling me how good practice was, and Greg Van Roten, just shut the hell up.
Yeah, no, I was going to definitely bring about Van Roten and McGovern because I just, block better. Like, like they put out those stats of like the win rate percentage, and Van Roten's like literally like 5th to last among interior offensive linemen. Like, you're horrible. Like, I'm sorry. Like, you keep getting your ass beat every single game. Like, I know the line played a little bit better against New England. He still wasn't very good against New England. Everybody else was good. Like, Morgan Moses has been pretty good. Verituck has been good. Fant's been up and down, but pretty solid for the most part. But the other two are terrible, and they need to just stop opening their mouth. Zach always does the right things. You should do the same thing. And then as far as Saleh with the practice stuff, agreed. Like, he's still getting used to press conferences. He's still getting used to how to handle New York media. He's going to realize you can't do that. Like, I rather him take more accountability and be like, you know what? Like, we didn't execute well, and we got to be better. We're going to practice harder. We're going to game plan better. We are going to put these players in a better position to win. Say stuff like that. Don't just say we had a great week of practice. I don't really care. You could be encouraged about Zach. You could say, he's going to be fine, blah, blah, blah. His processing is good. His preparation is good. That's fine. Whatever. But at the end of the day, don't say we had a great practice when you don't score a touchdown or you don't really score points at all for that matter. It's case-like. And I agree with you. And I kind of expected better, but for the most part, I would say Saleh is good in the presser. He's honest. I think he gives pretty thorough answers versus cases like, gotta watch the film. Like, he answers questions, but he's learning. This is something that's new. At the end of every game when he was a defensive coordinator, he wasn't always talking to the media. He talked to the media maybe once a week during practice. So it's like, he'll learn. He's going to learn. It's just, it's going to take time. But yeah, you got to be better in front of the mic. I agree.
I agree. And, on the flip side, I think we should commend guys, the young guys especially. So, Quinnen Williams, Zach Wilson, Michael Carter, all taking responsibility, bearing that burden on their shoulders, saying that they got to be better. Michael Carter coming out and saying that, I've made that catch 100,000 times and this is the one that I dropped and I don't care if it's tipped, but I got to catch that. So you see, the young group that's going to lead this team for the future, taking the accountability, doing the right things, having good press conferences and not throwing their teammates under the bus. So that's a positive thing that I think come away from this.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I definitely want to talk about the other Michael Carter at some point, but I think we should definitely talk about Marcus Maye because that was something that happened today. And definitely is a huge blow to the defense because I know Maye had a really, really bad penalty, but he's been pretty good all year long. I mean, he's been one of their most consistent players outside of Mosley. Mosley's been the best overall player on the team, I would say, every single week because he shows up every game. But, Maye has a sprained ankle, I think, because they didn't really say what, just an ankle out 3 to 4 weeks. So, he's probably out a month. And it's definitely going to hurt. I mean, the safeties were an area of concern to begin with, since Joyner went down. Obviously, Redwine was terrible. But Ashton's supposed to come back this week. I don't know if he's going to play, but I would imagine if he's healthy enough to practice, they're probably going to try to get him out there because who the hell else is playing? I forgot the other guy you mentioned before we went live who's going to be back. But yeah, that's going to be a problem. But I mean, the Jets are lucky. Tennessee's probably out with 2 receivers that would definitely give us problems. So you might be able to hide it for a week, but it's not going to be easy every game. But yeah, the one thing about the Maye thing that bothered me, and you didn't know about this until I told you, and Samini actually tweeted this out, was Marcus Maye's agent, Eric Burkhart, tweeted Ian Rappaport reporting the news saying I'll be healthy by the deadline. We don't need that. I don't care. Congratulations. Like, yeah, you want more money. I get that, and your client's annoyed, but you know what? he's not that good. He's not getting a huge contract. He's a serviceable NFL safety. He's nothing that any team is going to break the bank for. I can promise you that. He hits the open market. Like I said to you before, he'll be lucky if he gets 4 years, 40 million, and half of that guaranteed. He's not getting crazy money. And you're still making $10 million this year. It's not like you're not getting paid. So you know what? If he wants out of here, get rid of him. If you don't want to be here, I don't want you here. And that's how I feel about any team I root for. Like, I'm a huge Knicks fan, as you know. Like, Julius Randle wants to be here. And he's been saying that all along since before he signed his long-term extension. If you want to be here, I want you here. If you don't, get out. And you know what? Jamal Adams, so happy he's gone. So I missed that tackle last week. That was just cracking up. You're paying a lot of money for that missed tackle. There's my rant about May. What do you think?
No, man, I like it. Yeah, that was it was news to me what his agent tweeted. I didn't know that, but it's kind of comical. I mean, honestly, like, May's a good player. He's a top 2 to 3 player on this defense. There's no question. I think he's one of the quiet leaders in this team. Aside from his captaincy being apparently quote unquote stripped from him. But at the end of the day, man, he's a 28-year-old safety. Like, he's not in a make or break position. It's clearly not a high value position for Joe Douglas. I don't think, just judging by what Robert Saleh is doing with his secondary, that it's a high value position for Saleh either. So, him being worth a ton of money, no, I don't see it. And yeah, I agree with you, because I don't really want guys that don't want to be here. I want guys that want to be a foundational piece for the future. While I think Maye is a nice player, and he certainly is, he's been balling out for the first couple of weeks here. I'd say that you're right. He's probably the second best player on the defense outside of CJ Mosley. But at the end of the day, he's not worth a huge contract. And give me a break. You're on the franchise tag this year. Like, play the season out and then see what happens later. Don't tweet stuff about the deadline, coming from his agent.
He's acting like he's like a baseball player who's still like on his like a minor league deal when he's not even making $1 million. You're still making $10 million. Most people never see that money in their entire life. Calm down, man. Like, get over yourself.
And he's 28. Like, it's, this is a young team. It's the youngest team in the league. They're clearly building pieces for the future. They're grabbing pieces to build for the future. Maybe May's not part of that, but it's not the time. The team's 0-3. Don't go tweeting about the deadline and the fact that it'll be healthy by it so you can move them. Like, give me a break.
Yeah, it's other teams take note of that. Like, if you're acting immature like that, teams aren't going to want you. Like, teams, like, they look into everybody, like, when they're considering you for free agency, you're going into the draft, like, every little thing is under the microscope, and that's just, it's not a good look. And like, just play football, man. Like, get healthy, play football. I hope you're okay.
Yeah. But hold on. Yeah. So, in regards to Maye on the field, though, I mean, the deck continues to get stacked against this defense, which, Connor said it a bunch of times on Badlands, and I agree with it, like, punching above their weight class, which they've done week after week. I mean, they're on the field, it feels like 90% of the time. And they continue to hold strong, and they continue to take hits. I mean, the hit obviously to the D line with Carl Lawson being gone in training camp. Mosley feels like he's been by himself because, Gerard Davis got hurt. I think Nasruddin and Sherwood have both been banged up a little bit. So you got Quincy Williams filling in there. The safeties are banged up. You got every rookie under the sun is playing corner, but still they somehow are managing to do this.
That's coaching.
It is. It's 100% coaching. So exactly. So as bad as as we feel about the offense and the floor and what Saleh's doing, overseeing that, you got to feel as good about that on the defensive side of the ball, because he is having an impact there, and him and Ulbrich are coaching their asses off. And you got to feel good about that, because they're keeping us in games that I don't necessarily think we should be in. So we'll see how that translates on the field, man, because the depth is just not there. So now you're relying on Ashton Davis to hopefully come back, who's back to practice. Sherrod Niesman, who's back to practice. I don't know if they'll be 100% healthy by Sunday, but I don't know what the plans will be if they're not now with Maye out. So this is going to be, it's already at bare bones here. We'll see what happens come Sunday and who they tried out there.
Well, since they've been using Michael Carter II a lot in the slot, they may put Guidry back out there in safety, because that's typically what you do when your safety depth is hurting. Usually move a corner to play safety. Typically that happens usually when a guy gets a little bit older. I know, like, good corners, as they age, they'll put them back. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think Saleh will get creative with how they run the defense, especially with their depth being a little bit waned back there. Mm-hmm. I mean, there are some reinforcements coming, and Will was saying this best earlier today. It's like, one good thing happens, a bad thing happens. So, like, we find out that Crowder's probably trying to come back, of course, and Ashton's coming back, and now we lose Maye. But Crowder coming back is going to have a much bigger impact than any of us want to accept or believe. And you've been very high on keeping Crowder, and I was more in the camp of trading him. But given how many drops I saw last week, I want him on the field this week. He needs to be out there. He's always been reliable with his hands. That's always been something you can rely with him since he got here in 2019. So I think he'll definitely make Zach's life easier if he's out there, especially on third down. Just like the tight end play is non-existent. I mean, Croft is hurt. They said he's probably going to be okay, but he's probably not going to play. And if he does, he's not going to be 100%. We need a safety valve for Zach. So when all else fails, he's got Crowder. He can literally hit him 5 yards up, get that first down. So I'm excited to see Crowder. I'm hoping, he's ready to go because, groin could be a little tricky and his conditioning may not be there because, he was sitting out a lot. But what are your thoughts on, since you are a Mr. Crowder supporter?
I am a Mr. Crowder supporter. And I think, I've said it before. I think we always talk about the Gase Freedom Watch, but you got to give Crowder credit for being the best, having good seasons under Adam Gase. I mean, that's got to be worth something here. So maybe he gets a bump simply because he's not going to be in a Gase offense. But I mean, through the first 3 weeks, we still look like a Gase offense. So we'll see. But I think, I guess when you boil it down, though, I'm just a proponent of getting the best players on the field when you're at the state the Jets are at right now, which is not blessed with a plethora of talent type of team, right? They just don't have it there. And you have a young quarterback, so just get as many good players as you can out on the field. And this bodes the same way for my Denzel Mims talk. Like, get him out on the field. He can make plays. You can't tell me that he couldn't have made some of those catches that we're complaining about, these guys dropping. That I tweeted it out on Sunday, that Berrios play, like that was just salt in the wound because the game was over at that point. But the Berrios play, that should be a catch. Zach Wilson climbs the pocket perfectly. He throws across the middle. Berrios can't handle it. Denzel Mims would have made that catch. Yeah. So I am all for 100% all for getting the best and the most talent out on the field to support this young kid so we can see what he actually has here, because that's all that matters. That everything we have is tied to Zach Wilson, and you're not going to get a good enough realistic look at it if you don't surround him with talent. We felt good about this receiving core coming into this year, better than we felt in a long time. And I feel like the coaching staff is kind of botching it a little bit. And obviously injuries are playing with that, but let's get a good look. Let's get Mims and Crowder back out on the field with Corey Davis, hopefully Elijah Moore, who we may not see now with a concussion. I think the use of the tight ends has been weird. I don't know what's going on there.
Stop with the 12 personnel. That's Adam Gase.
They keep trying to fit a square peg in a round hole here, and that's extremely. It's concerning. I don't get it because you don't have the personnel for it. But let's just get people out on the field that can play and catch the ball and get in open space. That's the bottom line. That's it.
The problem with the tight ends is like everybody knows that none of them are a legit receiving threat. Yeah. So it's like when they're out there, you're probably running the ball, and it's pretty easy to diagnose as a defense because no one's worried about Ryan Griffin. No one's worried about Croft or Dan Brown. I actually was excited for Croft, but he hasn't done anything, and now he's hurt. Yeah. Honestly, I said this on Monday kind of as a joke. Make Mims a tight end. Line him out there. I know he's not big enough, but he's a body. He's tall.
He's a hell of a blocker. Yeah. That's another thing. Like, he's a hell of a blocker out there. So, yes, absolutely. And be flexible. Good coaches talk about what their players can do, not what they can't do. So find a way to get them on the field. And I don't want to go down this Mims rabbit hole again, but I will a little bit, because I talked last week about them, feeling like the coaches were talking out of both sides of their mouth. I guess to prove that point a little further, like, obviously Salah's mantra is playing the young guys. He's doing it with the corners and he's letting them learn on the fly. Why aren't they taking that same mentality when the wide receiver room looks the way it does and Mims is there to be had? I don't get that. It doesn't make sense to me. So I'll end with that. I think he plays this week. If he doesn't, there are bigger things. They're better. He better be.
But if Elijah's out and Jeff Smith might be out now because he got into a car accident today, but he's okay, thankfully, no injuries. Yep. But I'm imagining they want to be very cautious with him just because you never know. He could have like a little whiplash or just effects. He's playing this week. I'd be stunned if he does not play.
So would I. But I'd
be mad, honestly.
Yeah. Elijah Moore banged up, Croft banged up, Jeff Smith banged up. If Denzel Mims can't find his way on the field this week, then it's something bigger is at play here than we know of.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. On my list was to talk about Mims, but we could retire that. I think we've talked about this the last two games ad nauseum just because it just hasn't made sense. So
yeah.
Let's hope for better results with that. But we talked about GVR, we talked about McGovern. At the end of the day, just move on to the next game. So, I'm not too worried. It's still a lot of new stuff, new pieces and everything like that. But, we could talk a little bit about the game coming up. I think, it's important. There's a lot of factors here. I mean, the Jets are back home, which is good. Not that we have the greatest home field advantage in the world, but I will say this, and I don't remember if I said this after the Patriot game. I was actually pleasantly surprised that there weren't as many New England fans at the game. Maybe just because they're like, we're going to crush them. Why do I want to be there? I don't know. But it was definitely a lot more Jets fans than I thought. So my hope is this week, people haven't jumped ship, but it feels like everyone has based on what you see on Twitter and everything like that. But I'm hoping there's going to be a decent crowd. I think this is an opportunity for the Jets to take advantage of a game that probably people didn't think that they can win. I mean, it's a 7.5-point spread, but Tennessee's banged up. I mean, if they don't have A.J. Brown and they don't have Julio Jones, and Ferguson first came back to practice because he's like their third option really in the receiving game, who's he throwing the ball to, Tannehill? It's like guys I never heard of. I mean, Derrick Henry is the best running back in the league by my estimation. So I get that. He's going to have his day. The Jets just are going to expect that, though. I mean, there'll be plays when they know he's going to go right up the middle, but his just size and speed is just going to overpower them at times. So stop the run, and you can win this game. It's that simple. And execute your game plan. Make plays. Don't come out lifeless on offense. The number one thing for me is if they get the ball first, score points early. Surprisingly, Gase had moments where we'd actually score a touchdown or at least a field goal on the first drive of the game and then do nothing the rest of the game. I'm not saying take that blueprint, but get points on the board. Tennessee's defense is not that good. I mean, it's not the worst defense in the league, but they give up points. I mean, they gave up almost 40 to Arizona. They gave up high 20s to Seattle. Last week, I think they gave up 20 to Indianapolis. Why not? We could score. It's going to happen. Let's hear your thoughts on this game preview.
Yeah, I mean, I think returning home in a non-Patriots game, maybe the pressure's off a little bit. I think that's good. I think if they play loose and if we finally see that LaFleur and Saleh kind of learn something from the past 3 weeks, hopefully that'll be good. I think this is a winnable game. I really do. It depends on which Jets team shows up, but if we can kind of combine if we can erase the problems from each of the last 2 weeks, obviously that's easier said than done. But if Zach can play the game he did against Denver and the rest of the Jets team can play the game that he did against New England and combine those efforts, then I think we'll be in good shape. I'm reminded, a little bit, I'll date myself, but I remember 2002 was a great year for Jets fans. It was the last year they won the division, but they started off just awful. They won the first game at Buffalo. They came out the next 3 weeks and just looked god awful on offense with Vinny Testaverde. They made a switch to Chad Pennington. The next week they played the Chiefs at home. It was a good Chiefs team with Priest Holmes. I want to say Trent Green, and they lost a close one, but they scored points. I think it was 28-25 or something, but they had it, it was there at the end to be had. And that kind of spurned a run for the rest of the season for them to, to do some big things and to move the ball, get good on offense, all that stuff. So even if that is what happens this week, I'd be happy. If you come out with a 28-25 loss where the offense shows progress, I am fully happy with that. That's perfectly fine with me. I don't need to see a win. I just want to see points. That's it.
No, just be in the game. Be competent.
Yep.
Don't be a laughing stock. Even the last 2 games, no LOL Jets. I want to Zach, throw for 250, throw for 2 touchdowns. Ty Johnson, run for 100 yards. Carter, same thing. Do some things. I will say, Corey Davis revenge game. I think he's going to be extra motivated. And I saw during his presser today, he said that the Titans made 0 effort to retain him. And he's like, it bothered me a little bit. So I think he's going to play with some fire. And, he knows that he hasn't played well the last 2 games. He's had a lot of drops. In week 2, he was just awful. I mean, he dropped the pass that basically was an interception for Zach. Corey Davis plays well today. I mean, 2 weeks ago on this show, we were saying how great Corey Davis was. What a signing it was. That guy didn't just go away. He's going to execute. He's going to be better. He has talent and he's got size. I think we're going to see a good game out of Davis. I mean, if we don't, then I'm going to start getting concerned because this secondary is not something that he can't expose. And who else knows this secondary better than Corey Davis, considering he practiced against it just a year ago, and then a lot of those guys for the past 3-4 years. So I think Corey Davis is definitely going to have a nice bounce back game, and everyone will get off his back a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so, and I think you're right. I mean, if all he's got to do is catch the ball, he would have, he probably would have had 100 yards in 2 out of the 3 games had he just caught the balls that were, 90% of the balls that were thrown to him. I think, yeah, if he doesn't, he looks the way he did in the last 2 games, I think there's concern for Davis. I think there's also just concern for this receiving core. If he doesn't look like the guy we paid him to be, or at least 90% of the guy we paid him to be, that's problematic for the whole receiving core here, because he's supposed to be a number 1 guy. And clearly Zach Wilson has comfort with him, because that's the guy he's looking for all the time. So if he doesn't return to form and get back to that, week 1 status, then I think that's problematic for Davis, obviously, but it's problematic for the entire Jets offense.
Yeah, I agree. But I kind of want to go back to Zach a little bit, because obviously people are like now worrying, like, did we make the wrong decision with Sam Darnold and everything, and also like taking the wrong guy? Let's just take a look around the league, because if I'm looking at everything I've seen correctly, all these rookie quarterbacks have been abysmal. And finally, Mac Jones was not good. His stats do not show how bad he really was. He basically threw the ball 50 times to still didn't throw for 300 yards. So what I'm trying to say is we've been spoiled as football fans the last, 5 to 7 years, because we've had rookie quarterbacks who were successful early on. And our boy, Mark Sanchez, had a great point on, I think it was the show on FS1, I can't remember, with Asho and Marcellus Wiley, whatever. But anyway, he basically was saying how Matt Ryan and Joe Flacco were the reason why rookie quarterbacks were like thrown into the fire, just because they were successful early. Everyone's like, we got to do it. But the teams that are picking these quarterbacks, including us, who are horrible, Jaguars too, are awful. So it's not going to be easy for them. They're not like going into the situation that Mahomes went. And Mahomes literally sat for a year and had talent and had one of the best play callers and coaches in the NFL last 25 years. Like, everyone needs to stop expecting greatness from everybody. Like, the minute they step on the field, it takes time. Like, yes, there's exceptions to the rule. Like, there's guys who Justin Herbert's amazing. Like, I'm so impressed by him. I mean, what he did last week going into Kansas City and beating the Chiefs, he's the real deal. And I'm sure if the Bengals could do it all over again, they're taking him over Joe Burrow. So my point is stop expecting instant gratification. We as humans, that's what we want. And I get it. We're starving for good quarterback play. We're starving to be a competitive team. I get all of that, but you have to remember where we were, and we're still not out of the woods yet. I'm starting to question Joe Douglas a little bit. I mean, that 2020 class is bad. Like, listen, Bryce was good. Becton was good last year, got hurt this year. We'll see when he comes back. Hopefully back after the bye week. I don't know what it's going to be, because since he did have the surgery, he's going to be maybe a little bit longer than we hoped. But, everyone just needs to calm down and like give Zach some time, man. Like, literally, it's like, if I was a quarterback, with the way that we just treat them, like if everyone's bailing on Zach so early on, it's like a quarterback should avoid us. Like, remember that whole thing with Trevor Lawrence? He should avoid the Jets, and we were in position to get him. It's like, yeah, like, but listen, at the end of the day, like, Zach is going to play better. He's going to eventually take things with the defense he's giving to him. He's not going to, just do the hero play every game. And he really wasn't trying to do that against the Broncos. He just was a victim of drops. I mean, one of his picks, obviously, like you said, was through Barrios' hands. He's got to catch that ball. The other one was horrible. I mean, it's a rookie, and I'm going to just take it for what it is and just keep watching and hope for better results.
Yeah. I think, I haven't said for once that this was the wrong pick, taking Zach Wilson. It was the wrong thing to do. Like, yes, we're 3 games in, but even watching these 3 games, like, he still looked the part. And I mean, he had a bad game against New England. There's no excuse for that, but he's playing Belichick defense. Like, Belichick does that to every rookie quarterback he faces. So, like, I'm not out on Zach, and I still think that he looks the part. And I think he's looked pretty good, I think, overall. Like, honestly, he wasn't the problem against Denver. He certainly wasn't the problem against Carolina. He was the reason that we were back in the game. So I think he's had 1 good game, 1 bad game, and 1 meh game. And for a rookie, that's not bad. Like, I mean, you got to remember, I think Sanchez brings up a great point, because literally, I mean, even if you go to Mahomes, who sat for a year, there's stories about Tyreek Hill saying that when he saw Mahomes in practice, he thought he was ass, right? And like, that's his first year, but he was learning under Alex Smith. Like, so that's there's so many of these examples. I mean, even Peyton Manning led the league in interceptions in his rookie year. Like, people forget about that. And the Colts went 3-13, but the next year they were 13-3 and won the division. So there's a lot of things at play here. I do think in regards to Zach, to me, he still looks the part. I still have confidence in him. I think there's nowhere to go but up. I think his demeanor, his mentality, everything I've heard about the way he watches film, the way he carries himself, I think he's on the right trajectory. I really believe that we got the right one. there were a couple passes that he dirted on Sunday that he probably would want back. On the first series, I remember the one to Elijah Moore on the sideline. Like, he probably wants that back, but overall, he hasn't looked bad. I do think, and they brought it up a couple times in the broadcast too. First of all, the loss of Greg Knapp, I think, is probably hurting a lot more.
So much more than people realize,
right? Because, and not only is he a great coach who coached the likes of guys like Steve Young, he's got to be a mentor for Mike LaFleur, and he's a seasoned veteran that would have been there for a young offensive coach, let alone a young young quarterback. The other thing is the lack of a veteran presence from a player standpoint in that locker room. I think that's important, and the Jets don't have that. I mean, who is Zach Wilson leaning on? Mike White? Like, give me a break. I mean, even Sam Darnold had Josh McCown. I think no one can quantify that, but there's no question that was important for Sam in his rookie year to have a guy like Josh McCown in his ear and to go and to talk to every time on the sideline and be in practice with every single day. So I think that is lacking. And I think if there's a couple of things that we could point to from Joe Douglas to say he missed, I think that's one that they would like back, is to get a veteran quarterback in that room to be with Zach Wilson.
Yeah, like, I don't understand why they haven't tried to get Nick Foles. I mean, maybe Chicago doesn't want to get rid of him, but like,
well, apparently he could be in line to start this week.
Seriously, but like, there's just no. I mean, based on what I saw from Fields last week, he looked worse than Zach is. Even though Zach threw 4 interceptions against New England, he still, like, had some decent throws. Justin Fields had net 1 passing yard. He was sacked 9 times. It's like, Nick Foles could be better than that. I mean, he's been a starter in the NFL. He won a goddamn Super Bowl, for Christ's sake. But like, having a guy like that would help Zach a lot, which is noticing things, especially when he comes off the field. If they have like a bad drive or something, he could be like, you missed this. This is something you got to look for. Like, this is something that the blitz is going to be like. Listen, I'm not an X's and O's guy by any stretch of imagination. I just watch football. I like it and everything like that. Yeah. But yeah, that's definitely one, like, just like letting Robbie Anderson go. But Robbie hasn't done any this year, so maybe Joe Douglas was on something. I don't know. But yeah, I think the loss of Knapp has been a lot bigger than we thought. And, I think it's going to take time. I keep saying this and nobody wants to hear it. And I totally get that. But everyone's just got to calm down. Calm down.
And I mean, I feel good for Sam Darnold. I really do. There's obviously a big part of me that's rooting against him because I want the better draft pick from, what we got from Carolina. But the kid's in a good situation. He's a good kid. I'm rooting for him. But honestly, I said it last week too. I haven't thought twice about giving up Sam Darnold. I don't think that this situation would be any better. I think it may actually be
if not worse.
If Sam Darnold were the quarterback.
But you would be like bench him. You'd be like bench him because he's 4 years in.
And then because this isn't the same structure as Carolina. This isn't the same foundation as Carolina has. It's not nearly the defense, not nearly the offense, and the weapons that he has around him there. But if Sam Darnold were here and he were struggling and the Jets were 0-3, then we'd be talking about what the hell are we doing trading that second pick? And why do we give up that opportunity to keep Sam here when clearly he's not the answer? Coming into a quarterback class in 2022 that doesn't look as good as this one did, and all that stuff and on and on. Jets fans are just never going to be happy. Zach Wilson's the guy. It was the right thing to do. Everything is aligned from the GM to the coach to the quarterback now. We're all on the same trajectory here. Just let it play out. We're 3 games in. Zach Wilson's the least of our problems.
I agree. And, I was talking to DJ from the Daily News, and he was saying, he's like, the talent's there. He's getting into he's doing some bad things, but it's all correctable stuff. It's not like he can't make the throws. He's the best arm talent we've seen of a Jets quarterback since I don't even know how long. I mean, Geno had a really good arm, but like Darnold didn't have the arm he has.
No.
Fitz definitely didn't. And Fitz is like, he had like a weird thing where he didn't have this like amazing arm, but he could sling it. I don't know. He almost was like a touch slinger, if anything. Chad literally was a lollipop thrower. I got to go way back. I mean, Chad was really the first quarterback that I was watching. I mean, I saw older Vinny, not like peak Vinny, like 1998 and everything like that. I wasn't watching at that point.
Well, peak Vinny was still older Vinny. I think he was 36 in 98. So, and Vinny T could still get off the couch right now and throw a ball through a brick wall. So he had the arm strength.
Yeah. No, I don't think I ever mentioned this on the show, but really the first season I watched from start to finish and have been doing it ever since is 06. 04 is when I started getting into it, but 06 is definitely where it was. I mean, I just wasn't into football when I was younger. It took me some time, but yeah, I mean, I just remember going to that game. It was Bengals Jets 04 home opener. Carson Palmer's first start. Curtis had that amazing run, and we won that game. So, it's gonna take time. All right, let's do some game picks. I'll let you go first. I've already made it clear on Twitter, as my mentions have been going after me, like as if I committed a crime or I offended their mother or I just said something to bother them. All I was just trying to do was get some positive vibes there. Like last week, I was more of the negative one. I didn't think they were going to win last week. I didn't think they would get shut out. You were more optimistic than I was. Now it seems like it's flipped a little bit because I'm optimistic this week. So I want you to go first and I'll make my case.
Yeah. Oh man, this is a tough one. So honestly, it's hard to judge because really what we've seen the first 3 weeks gives you no reason for hope. But I got to assume, and like you've been saying on the show, they're going to turn it around at some point. They're going to score points. It's the NFL. I think this is the week that they show signs of life. I think they're still going to lose. I think it's something like 31-24 Titans. It turns out to be that Derrick Henry's just a little too much for the Jets defense to handle. But the Jets show signs of life. They score some points against a weak Titans defense, and Zach Wilson looks better. Corey Davis bounces back. Maybe Mims gets a catch or two. Who knows? But maybe the defense breaks a little more than they have in the first 3 weeks, especially against Derrick Henry, who they're probably going to just continue to pound, being down A.J. Brown and Julio Jones. So that's what I'll go with. Jets go 0-4, but they show signs of life. 31-24 Titans, but I think it makes it a make or break week for the following week for the Jets with Atlanta and London. Because I think if we go 0-5, man, all hell's going to break loose. So they got to get themselves to 1-4.
Yeah, well, they might go 0-6 if going into the bye week because the Jets lose the bye every year. That video last year was really funny of the guy who always imitates Francesa pretending to be gay, talking about losing to the bye. That was really funny. Okay, so I'm the opposite of you, and I feel like I got to back this up. So I think they're going to win. I think they're going to win by 1. I think it's going to be 28-27. I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be high flying. It's going to be, what we were hoping to see. We're going to see some plays down the field. We're going to see the receivers get open. We're going to see them score some touchdowns. I think Zach is going to throw for like 250, 280-ish. I think he'll throw 2 touchdowns. I think he's not going to throw any interceptions. I don't think this blitz is going to make him, make some bad decisions. I think the running backs bounce back in a big way. I think Coleman should be back. I know it was like he was out because of like sickle cells. They were just being precautious with him, and they just didn't want him to, if anything happened to him. He's the best blitz pickup guy we have, so we definitely need him in that regard, especially on third down. But yeah, I think the defense that we're playing against is definitely the weakest of the 4 that we have gone through after this game. I think that, Vrabel's a solid coach. I like him. I think he does some questionable things. And I know my boy Glenn, I think, is, watching the show, and he says how much he hates Vrabel. And he's been saying to me all week that he thinks the Jets are going to win. He was saying it last week. And I was like, I don't know, man. But and Will said this in our Slack about like an hour before we went live. He's like, 2019 Dallas game. We all are like just ready to just jump ship. This is that game where we just kind of come out and it looks much better. And, I think Zach realizes bad first impression with the home fans. I think he's going to look much better. He's going to look more confident. He's going to take what the defense is giving him, more short to intermediate throws. 28-27 Jets.
I like it. I like the optimism. A little change of pace for you.
You know what, man? We've hit rock bottom. I want to speak things into existence. I just think that, I think LaFleur is going to learn from his mistakes. I think that, it's just, we're not going to go 0-17. Like, we're going to show life. Like, it's just like, I thought we would go 0-16 last year. We won 2 games. It's a good comparison to this game, the Browns game last year. All the receivers were out. They have 2 good running backs, and we found a way to win that game. So,
yep. You're not wrong. I'll take it.
The Browns were a good team.
I know. I agree with you. I just want a reason to jump off my couch with excitement. That's it. Like, just give me a touchdown that I can cheer for. Just give me some big play. Like, let me be in it at the end of the game and happy for once to be watching quality football. That's literally all I care about. We've given them the lowest bar to clear ever. Just start to get over it, please.
I agree with that. I totally agree with that. I mean, if for some reason I'm wrong and it's 28-27 Titans, I'm ecstatic.
Fine. Yeah.
Like, that means like it was a fun game. Like, yeah,
exactly.
It was a rough one, but the fans will be a lot happier knowing that they can actually score some points and it was a close game. And, they're not going to get on as much the staff. They'll be like, we're getting closer. I just think that Salah's going to make changes. I think that they're going to prepare really well. I think being at home is definitely going to help them.
Definitely.
2 of the first 3 games being on the road is tough. And, they showed life. I think we're going to see more, excuse me, of what Zach looked like the second half against Carolina this week. I really do.
I hope so. And I think from a higher level, from a coaching standpoint, I really like to see him cut down on penalties. I think there's been too many over the course of the first 3 weeks, too many backbreaking penalties too. Like we have to cut that down.
56-yard field goal. We got a freaking delay game. Like, are you kidding?
Yeah.
Like,
and that's, we'll debate if that's on Morstead or if that's on coaching. Like, who knows? I mean, Morstead, he was there and ready with 8 seconds to go, but he kept looking at Amendola to see if he was ready. It was, so I don't know. But the other thing that I obviously want to see some more from the floor. I want to see, we brought it up last week. I told you my Bills friend buddy was talking about RPO. Dan Orlovsky tweeted it this morning. Like, give Zach some room to make a run here. Like, let him take some early hits. Let him, do that in the beginning of the game to get him in a bit of a groove. Get him on the move. Get him out on the run. Like, do some things different that put him in a position to succeed. Get him in some screens. I mean, if the Titans are going to be blitz happy, then throw a screen over it and let's get some easy yards. And for God's sakes, catch the ball, please.
One more gripe on Salah. Do not use a timeout 15 seconds into the second half. That drove me crazy. Like that, and calling a timeout after change of possession or like just the first play of the drive, like that kind of stuff. You cannot do that.
That stuff we talked about, before the season started, was those are the things that you don't really know about a coach until you see him coach in game. And those are hopefully the learning experiences, and hopefully he is the type of guy that can learn. That's something that Rex Ryan never learned. That's something that Adam Gase was terrible at. Todd Bowles was terrible at time management. They just never got it. So we'll see if Salah is different and can kind of change that for us. But yeah, I agree with you. Time management, clock management, how to use your timeouts. Yeah, that's a big thing. And that's annoying when they do that.
Like, don't go to the Andy Reid school of time management. Hopefully Andy Reid's okay. I believe he is. But watching Andy Reid late in games sometimes has definitely been eye scratching over the course of me watching football. But Steven, any closing thoughts? I'm optimistic. You're not as optimistic, but you feel better.
I feel better. I think this is the week that they at least show signs of life. We'll see. I mean, 0-4 with, a good game against Tennessee wouldn't be the end of the world. Again, though, if they get to 0-4 and that Atlanta game starts to look pretty, must win, we'll say, to keep any hope of the season alive. I know you've said all along you want to see the in the hunt graphic, man. That keeps fading. That keeps fading week in and week out. So we'll see. But no, I just want to see competitive football. Just give me something to cheer for, man. That's the only thing I'm asking for.
Totally agree. I think we're going to start to get it. It's going to take some time. But as always, everybody, remember to subscribe to our show on YouTube. I know we've seen a bunch of people subscribe recently, and I know we gave out some prizes. I know we have to send one to one of our winners, and one of our winners tweeted us the picture of his baby boy wearing a jersey, which was awesome. So glad to see that. Don't forget to obviously subscribe to the feed on Apple, Spotify, or Google Play. Get our show, get Will's show. Draft season, I think it's coming back either next week or the week after. I know October. Got to talk to those guys about it. And last but certainly not least, make sure you obviously join the Patreon. I know the guys hit 1,800 subscribers on the Patreon. Badlands is awesome. Yeah, I love Connor's all 22 breakdowns. I think it's really good for people who are trying to learn more about NFL film and just really like what it looks like, what the coaches are looking like. And Connor does a really good job of that. We also have the sponsor that Joe had just mentioned to us today for Tap Room for Badlands. More details will be coming out on that, but you guys will hear about it. And also we will be doing a watch party for all TOJ Badlands fans for the Indianapolis Colts Thursday night game in Hoboken. Location to be determined, but we will let you guys know as soon as we have that. Hope everybody enjoyed the show, and